Welcome back, guys. We're talking about JP Morgan, the Equity Premium Income ETF, which is a very well-known and established ETF from JP Morgan, which sells and buys stock options, which they then earn that money to distribute out to their shareholders in the form of a dividend. Some of their performance that we can see here in 2021, they made a total return of 21%. Now, this is including the growth of the stock price, but also the dividends as well. Whereas you can see the S&P 500 just beat them by 7%. But then also in 2022, the S&P 500 reduced in 18%, whereas JEPI only reduced in 3%. So you can see that it's a little bit less volatile than the S&P 500 itself, given that the S&P 500 is a lot, it's very tech heavy, whereas JEPI is a lot more diversified, so it's less volatility there. In 2023, they made a return of 9.8%, as S&P 500 made a massive return of 26%. But realistically, when you total all this up, in the last 3 years, S&P 500 has really only beaten JEPI by roughly 8%. Now, I'd really like to invest with JEPI purely because the S&P 500, you'd have to actually sell the unrealized capital gains to actually get that money, whereas JEPI, all their income comes from a dividend. So you actually get access to that cash flow, and you can actually choose which companies to invest in with that extra cash flow there. Now, having a look at the portfolio, so they've got a total amount of holdings of 131. Now, what's interesting here is Amazon comes in at the top, and you can see they've only allocated 1.81%. So the highest amount of money that they've put into a company, it's only allocated to 1.81%, which is just goes to show that they're very diversified over a lot of different companies. And then you've got $576 million just in this one company here. So let's have a look at some others. You've got Meta Platforms, Microsoft, Intuit, a couple of good financial companies here being MasterCard and Visa. And just with MasterCard and Visa alone, these are companies that have got 2.5% to 3% dividend yield on their own. And you think about all the money that they've put into it. You've got $514 million into MasterCard and $484 million into Visa. So it's only almost just $1 billion just in those two companies that are paying just under a 3% dividend yield. So it just gives you an idea of how much money that the JEPI ETF actually has inside of its fund. And it's also very well-known companies. Like if you were to look at all 131 holdings, you've got Apple in there, you've got Microsoft, you've got S&P Global. So there's some really, really good companies there that you probably already invest in anyway. But it's just in the one fund, it's well diversified, and it's very well allocated amongst all the other different companies. And here's the sector exposure here. So you've got, financials being a big 14%. And you've got tech being 14% here, but you've also got consumer being 10% there. So there's really not a lot of sector there that's heavily weighted in just to the one sector. Say, for example, you've got some funds that have got 50% in tech, whereas these ones are very well balanced across the board. Right, now having a look at the dividends, so with the pay date, you can expect to receive your dividend anywhere between, say, the 3rd and the 7th of every single month. And then on the right hand side, you can actually see how much they pay. Now it fluctuates a lot depending on how much options they can buy and sell and distribute out to their shareholders. So you've got 41 cents here, you've got 40 cents here, and you've got a low of 29 cents. So you can see it actually does fluctuate a little bit, and we'll head over to Seeking Alpha just to see how that looks like on a graph. So back in 2022, you can actually see they've actually paid a 62 cent per share dividend there, which was that's a massive dividend that they're actually paying here. And the most recent one that they've announced here is 30 cents. Okay, so it's halved, since 2 years ago, but you can actually see it does fluctuate here. So we've got a low dividend here in February of 2024, but that's not to say the next dividend that they'll actually pay could be 50 cents. So just keep that in mind before buying JEPI there. Right, and this is JEPI within my portfolio here. So this is the last 3 years on how the stock price actually fluctuates. I've got $40,000 in total equity within the company. I've got 724 shares and an average price of $55 per share, and all that's getting me is a great just under 8% dividend yield there, which works out to be over a couple of $100 every single month. So I roughly bought in a lot earlier than this, around 2021, but it was around the $55 mark here. So there's still a lot of potential for a bit of upside in terms of the stock price there as well. So let's head over to the dividends, and you can actually see a lot of my payments. So you can see the dividends tab here. We'll click this and let's just scroll down as much as we want. So we're just looking for JEPI here. So 2023 they paid me a dividend of $171 there, and if we just scroll up, we can actually see how much it's actually grown by. So let's have a look at JEPI here. So yeah, we've gone from what was that last one, $171 here. To $211 there, $282 there. Let's have a look at the next one. Where are you? Yep, so $310 there. And that was the most recent payment in January of 2024. So just imagine, so $310, every single month, just in JEPI alone, although you will need to have at least $40,000 allocated into this company to get that amount of money. And then moving over to track your dividends, just to total all this up, so I do have a $304,000 dividend portfolio that's getting me an overall value of 6.42%, which works out to be $19,000 USD every single year, and that works out to be just under $1,600 every single month. But JEPI, more specifically, scrolling down here, if you look to the right hand side of the screen, every single year they're getting me just over $3,200 in dividends just alone there. So there you have it. If you want to earn roughly over $3,000 to $4,000 every single year just with JEPI alone, this is the kind of money that you'll have to be invested with in order to get that 8% dividend yield paying you more than $3,000 every single year. You'll have to have 724 shares at an average price of this. So now is not a bad time to buy the stock. But if you did enjoy the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you did want to sign up with Stake and start your dividend investing journey, just use the code here, ChrisM965. I'll get a free stock and you'll get a free stock. So it's free money to kickstart your dividend journey. So why wouldn't you do it? All right, as always, thanks for watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.